Welcome, everybody. My name's Vin from the BreakRoom Podcast. I'm here to bring you our live reaction for the WWE Rivals Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar episode. I just got finished watching not only the WWE Rivals episode, but also the biography of Kurt Angle and what they put together there. So, admittedly, I'm not the biggest fan on our crew of wrestling. I don't have a lot of knowledge when it comes to the WWE and the history of the WWE. You know, similar to a lot of people my age, I watched the Attitude Era. So for me, Stone Cold and The Rock, I know Triple H, I know those guys, some of their stories. But I don't know the depths of everything. I don't have the knowledge, and I didn't have the interest. But you can see week in and week out on our show, Chris and Joe, like to have fun and go at it over the Bret Hart-Shawn Michaels rivalry. So watching their passion and their interest in it creates passion. It creates energy. So I've gotten more interested as the weeks have gone on and found more interest and a renewed interest in the WWE. So I just recently went to Raw at Madison Square Garden, where I picked up Tricky Ricky. What's happening, dude? Thanks for joining me here. I'm flying a little solo, so I appreciate the support. So yeah, we again have been trying to do a series of videos and reactions to the WWE Rivals, WWE on A&E episodes, and I'm learning just so much, whether it's about the rivalries and the behind the scenes of what was really going on with these rivalries, but also the biographies. I try to catch the biographies, and I just watched all of Kurt Angle's, and it was really, there was a lot there. I didn't know a lot about Kurt Angle. Obviously knew he was an Olympic gold medalist. Didn't know that he came from Foxcatcher, and I don't know if anybody knows that story. I do know that story, but John DuPont, rich and famous heir to the DuPont, wealth, he put up a team. He wanted to make U.S. wrestling prominent in the world, and he decided to fund a team. And I didn't realize that Kurt Angle was a part of this team and that he was friends with, I think, Derek Schultz. I'm sorry, I forgot the name right now, but Schultz. It was the DuPont-Schultz murder. John Schultz ended up murdering their lead wrestling coach, Mr. Schultz there. And Kurt Angle was on that team, and he was a mentor of Schultz's, and it's crazy to see like Kurt Angle's trajectory. He's been through a lot of personal turmoil, personal struggles, drug addiction, and loss. He lost, not only his mentor, he lost his sister to drug addiction. I believe he also lost his father. So it's interesting to watch these things and to learn about the people more and the behind the scenes and the stuff obviously you don't see when they're putting on their show. So I've been learning a lot. And it's interesting in the Brock and Kurt rivalry, to me, it's an athletic rivalry. They're both high-end wrestlers. A lot of these guys were, athletes, whether it was football. These guys come from backgrounds in sport. But Kurt Angle being an Olympic gold medalist and Brock Lesnar being an NCAA champion wrestler, it brings an interesting dynamic to their rivalry. Obviously, behind the scenes, similar to, I guess, like Stone Cold and The Rock, there's a lot of mutual respect. They were almost friends behind the scenes, and I think Brock and Kurt seemed to be even more friendly backstage. They would roll into town together. They would go to the rental car place together. They'd talk wrestling. They'd talk all this great stuff. So, yeah, their rivalry is unique. It's not. It's worth mentioning. It's one of those rivalries that's, it's sort of manufactured, whereas with like a Bret-Shawn thing, there's a lot of animosity built into the rivalry, whether it's between them or the fans. So nothing's quite like that. I don't think, with the little that I know, I don't think there's any other rivalry that'll match the Bret-Shawn one. But, yeah, Brock and Kurt's is just, it's pure athleticism. Watching the matches, watching that we're doing, it was something almost new. They were bringing more traditional wrestling styles to the WWE. Kurt's heel, being a huge heel, because he thought he was so squeaky clean, and even him not really understanding the audience and not realizing that he wasn't going to be popular, even though he was an Olympic gold medalist. But he did the right thing by leaning into it. and, sort of poking fun at the audience and really feeding into that hate that they had for him. But then, of course, eventually being able to turn it into a respect because he was just putting in a lot of hard work. Mike, you're watching it now, dude. Hey, Mike, welcome to my my little episode here. Yeah, it was a cool episode. Again, it's like you can just see it's different compared to some of the other ones that we've watched before. But it's at a time where I'm sure the WWE was transitioning sort of out of the Attitude Era. I don't know the exact date of when the Attitude Era ends, but Kurt and Brock looked like, obviously, Brock was ascending, and Kurt was able to help him get there. So yeah, I've been getting a kick out of these episodes. It's fun to watch. It's fun to learn all these things about these guys. But Joe and Chris are constantly sending me videos and YouTubes to watch. I have a ton to catch up on. Chris wants me to check out, what Mike's been doing. Mike's been using Peacock to watch all the old episodes of Raw and actually see not just the brief summaries, but the details, how the shows went and what it was like. And I'm sure it brings back all this great nostalgia, too, when you're watching, because I was definitely watching as a kid back then. But yeah, watching this stuff, it gives me a lot of respect for these guys, more respect than I may have given them before, not knowing anything, just generally not having a good understanding of the business and what was really being put in behind the scenes. So I'm having a great time watching this stuff, learning new things, arguing with the guys over it. It's been a lot of fun. I don't know if anybody else has been able to watch these. If you have, let me know what you've been thinking. I know for guys who have been long-time fans, all of this is rehash. Chris will say, it's kind of like we've seen this stuff before. But for me, it's great. It creates that interest. It creates that new, like, oh, I'd like to see more. Watch those matches in details. Go back and learn even more than I knew, and try to be able to fight these battles with these guys, because I'm basically outclassed with knowledge. So I'm taking a very, I try to be open and say, I don't really know much, but here's my opinion and here's my observations of it. Next week, I actually have to look up. I'm going to look that up. I don't know the upcoming episode of Rivals. Let's see. What do we got? Who is coming up? Episode guide. Oh, so next week should be a really good one. It's actually not a specific team. It's not a specific wrestlers, but this is going to be the WWE versus WCW episode. There's actually something the guys have recommended to me to watch. There's like a multi-part series about this. I think Mike is in the middle of watching it right now. I forgot exactly what it's called, but I know this is known as the Monday Night Wars. This is when WCW and WWF at the time were debuting basically at the same time. But apparently WCW was first to be live, so they would try to spoil the taped episodes of WWF. And they would come out and, whatever, just say what was going to happen and how, stupid it was. They would try to poke fun at it. I think it backfired one big time. I forgot the exact match, but they had announced, damn, this is where Joe and Chris are great. They can come in with the good info. There was a match that was going to happen on WWF, and they basically tried to spoil it on WCW, but it had the opposite effect. Everybody tuned off of WCW, went right to WWF's programming and watched the match. I could swear it was Stone Cold. Great 20, yeah, okay, so WWE versus WCW Monday Night Wars 20-episode documentary. Wow, so you can see where, we're about to watch, there'll be an hour-long episode next week, but there's just so much more to this stuff. But I think it's a good, the show's great. I think it's made for people like me, who don't know a lot, or they have a nostalgia for it, and maybe they're getting back into it, and they're, reliving old memories, learning new things. So I think this series is really good, even though it's a bit of a rehash of some information. I wish my lighting was a little better. Sorry, guys. No, that ain't gonna work. I'm down here in the dungeon, so... Yeah, so, Brock Lesnar, Kurt Angle. I definitely spelled Lesnar wrong on our title. I'll have to fix that one. But I don't know where it would rank. If you had to rank these things, the Lesnar versus Angle rivalry, I'm sure it's not it doesn't rank as high as some of the other ones, but it's a really good one because from what I was watching, it's just pure athleticism. These guys were really high-end athletes, very dedicated to what they were doing. They were putting in the time and the work, and it obviously paid off. I know the guys watched SummerSlam last night. I wasn't able to catch that with them. I don't know if anybody out there got to check it out too, but I did see Lesnar and the tractor, him coming in very Stone Cold-esque in the mouth of the tractor there, and he just dove. Actually, they had a good clip of him tossing the mic at Roman Reigns, and Roman Reigns just catches it like ultra smooth and gives him a quick wink. So that's pretty funny. And then I caught a quick snap of, I guess Lesnar deadlifted the whole fucking ring. I don't know if he used the plow. I got to watch the video on that, but I guess SummerSlam was pretty entertaining. So I didn't get to catch it. Hopefully I'll be able to catch some highlights between tonight and tomorrow. But yeah, we're going to definitely keep doing these. I wanted to make sure I came on here, gave my reaction. We're going to try to get the boys together next week too. Try to do another one. I think next week's will be a really good one because it's WWE, WCW. There's a lot to talk about there. I mean, geez, it of course brings the Bret Hart conversation back to the forefront. As always, we can't avoid it. But those guys, they're synonymous with the WWE and the WCW rivalry. So it'll be interesting to watch that. Of course, WCW taking Hulk Hogan over and Diesel and Razor and all these guys. It obviously there was the competition bred the best product. That's what you'll always find is when there is competition. If it was only one of them, the product would never succeed. WCW pushed the WWE to become more edgy, to become what we knew as the Attitude Era, and we were all better off for it. It all worked out in the end. Maybe not for Vince, but whatever. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to make sure we were here, bringing another reaction to these episodes. Mike, what did you just say? Sorry, dude, I got to try to read the comments here. Let's see. Trying to run this ship on my own right now. Let's see. Ba-ba-ba-da-ba. Daniel F., what's up, dude? It's when Mankind beat The Rock for the WWE Championship. They spoiled it, had the opposite effect. Oh, okay, so the WCW announced Mankind versus The Rock and Mick Foley winning the title for the first time. Yeah, it backfired huge. Everybody tuned the fuck out. They were like, we got to see this. You got to see Mick Foley win. So I can see. I'm sure we'll hear a lot about that on next week's episode of WWE Rivals. That's huge for Mick. We did just actually talk about on the show we were trying to build our top 10 wrestlers, or what we consider our top 10 wrestlers. Joe came up with a point scaling system, or I think he took one from Bret Hart, and we all came up with our own lists of the top 10, and we tried to collaborate it into the Break Room's official top 10. Now this is controversial as always. We are always battling over even the littlest things. So who belongs in the top 10 of all time in the WWE or just wrestling? I don't think it wasn't just specifically the WWE. Yeah, me and Chris are going back and forth about Triple H. Joe and Chris going in on the Shawn Brett thing. On my list, I had them as interchangeable. Chris was angry that I put Brett on the list just because of Joe, or I put him higher than Shawn for Joe. And it's just, again, it's because I'm finding out more about these wrestlers. I'm earning a respect I didn't have before, and it creates a favoritism, I guess you'd say. So we were able to go meet Bret Hart quickly at the Wrestling Universe in Queens just a couple of months ago. We have a video on the channel, actually, of Joe being able to meet his hero again, and I was very happy to be there and to watch that. So, yeah, you see your friend's passion in certain things, and it's contagious. So, but I have a respect for Michaels. I was able to watch his biography and some more videos from him, and he's had those struggles too, similar like Kurt. Addiction and all of these things that a lot of people struggle with. So with Kurt Angle, it was interesting because he was so squeaky clean. His image was Olympic wrestler, but the reality of life is these things don't miss anybody. It can get anybody. And, you see the struggle that they're going through. Some people didn't make it through those struggles, and then, some were able to and continue day to day to fight it. Kurt talks about having to maintain his body. He still has injuries. He still has pain. And how do you manage that pain without using pills? So he's talking about doing, he does a lot of yoga. He does a lot of, light training, but also he's still in great shape. So he's obviously physically active all the time. But he talks about his wife being able to really, help him. He did get a DUI and got locked up, and then, wife leaves with the kids, the whole nine, the worst kind of stuff that everybody has to go through. Doesn't matter how famous, how rich, how anything. Olympic gold medalist, it can happen to you. So, you try to look at these stories, you get inspired. His work ethic's inspiring. His determination to become an Olympic gold medalist, to win the gold medal with the broken neck, that infamous story. So it's very cool to learn more about these guys. I also never saw the Brock Lesnar, what the hell is the move called? The 5-star off. He basically does a backflip forwards, and he fucking landed right on his head in the Kurt match. And I think anybody else would have broke their neck or died, but that guy's got traps in neck for days. So he was lucky. He was very lucky, because a lot of people watched that and were very scared for him. So a lot's happened in their rivalry, and Brock's career has continued, obviously, to up until last night. And as it looks like he's coming to the twilight of his career, what will Brock Lesnar's legacy be going forward? It's hard to compete. I know The Rock, I know Stone Cold, I know those guys, but to a lot of these kids, I'm sure, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Angle, all of them are very, very high. They're in their top 10, so I'm having fun. This has been a great time. Joe is an encyclopedia, dude. Joe is excellent. It's amazing, his knowledge. He's lived it. He's been a fan. He's a little bit older than I am, so he was watching those early eras. He was at wrestling matches in the 80s, in 87, 89, the 90s, so he loves it. His memory's pretty solid, so he doesn't partake in the vitamins, so he's always able to just boom, 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 come up with these little stats and these, when Kurt Angle actually won the belt, and he could tell you all this great stuff. So it's really fun to be a part of. I'm happy to be a part of it with the guys. It's cool to be re-engaging with something I really haven't been engaged in a long time. We had a great time at Monday Night Raw. That was a lot of fun with the guys. Mike was there with me. Dr. Shang was there. Chris and our buddy Adam, friend of the pod, also, they were sitting on the floor. We both made it on camera, funny enough, because one of my managers from work, we told him we went, and he watched the episode retroactively, so he was really looking for us. And I showed him a picture of Roman Reigns standing on the curtain, and I'm in the background, like, holding up the finger. And you can actually, I guess, see that on the cut. I haven't been able to watch it myself. But also Chris was on as the camera did a nice pan, and he's probably like 3 rows into that, him and Adam sitting side by side. So Chris was able to make it on TV. I'm assuming it's the first time he was able to make it on TV for a wrestling event. And for him being such a long-term wrestling fan, I'm sure that was really great for him. So we got to get that. Tricky Ricky does say, wrestling sucks now, nothing like the old school shit. Yeah, dude, that's classic life. I feel like it's always when it's your time, and I remember being a kid. It must have been 2000, really, 98, 99, probably when I really started watching. So I was like 12, 13. So it was hitting right at the right time. I was a football guy. I played a lot of sports, so always got a kick out of these guys. It was a lot of fun to watch The Rock, fun to watch Austin. I do feel like the things are in transition. So things can go either way right now. You have Vince stepping down. You have Triple H stepping up. You have Stephanie McMahon leading this with Khan. I don't know all the details of this. There's like rumors all abound. Joe's talking about there's been some conspiracy theories about Khan and trying to gain power in the WWE. Who knows? I don't know too much. I can't speak to it, but they're in transition, and it's a time where you see they're going to take Monday Night Raw to TV 14, so things might be able to get just a little bit more edgy, and I'm sure that's what people are kind of looking for. I don't think you can replicate the Attitude Era. It's just we live in very different times. But there's still a way to be edgy. There's a lot of things that will resonate with fans, I think, more than what they're seeing. I think some people find what they're seeing to be inauthentic. It lacks the touch of the wrestler, I guess. Again, casual observer. Chris would probably disagree with me. But I know there's a lot of people out there that feel like you, Rick. It's not what it was. It doesn't feel the way it did back then. And being at the show, yeah, I could say that. We were in it. We were loving it. We felt a part of the show, and we were trying to have fun. The crowd is very engaged. I'll tell you, there's no dip in the crowd. It's packed at MSG. So the fan base is there. I do feel like it's on a resurgence. Maybe that's just because it's on my radar more than it ever was before. But from us talking about it so much, I have a lot of friends who are revisiting these things. So it could be on the resurgence. It could be a good time for WWE to shift gears, maybe go back to something a little more raw or a little more, I don't know, original. Less manufactured, less polished, less PC. I know that's a lot of people say the word PC. It's politically correct. You know, I understand that. It's sometimes, you know, you got to let people riff and have fun with these things, and it's not everybody's out to hurt somebody's feelings. You know, it's all in good fun. So maybe we can kind of grow past that and let these guys have more fun. Yeah, but WWE is rated younger than TV-14. So yeah, Phil, that's apparently the deal right now. I believe right now and for the last decade or so, the WWE transitioned to a, you know, I don't know what the rating is, like a G rating or a PG rating. So cursing was out, the middle finger was out, you name it. You know, they used to say bitch and fuck you, you know. You would see, you know, so I think they wanted to just calm that down because they were probably trying to grow into a bigger audience. The company went public, so it's a publicly traded company that you can invest in. That's a whole new game. Control is not in the CEO's hands even. There's a board of directors to answer to. There's shareholders and all this bullshit. And it does tend to water stuff down at times because they're taking less risks. They have to earn quarterly results, and they're worried about quarter to quarter to quarter. And from my observation at MSG, it's a packed house, and the tickets weren't cheap. So the company's making money, but that could also be the problem. And I think for maybe long-term fans, they want to see something different now. And it's time. It's time to change, grow with the times, maybe get a little edgy, maybe push the envelope a little bit more, without getting, you know, in the weeds, I would say, without being ridiculous. But I know a lot of people watch AEW. Joe will speak to AEW. It's a little more raw. It's a little bit more dangerous, I guess you'd say. I think even with, you know, it's funny, they took away the chairs. It sounds like, Phil says it sounds like Star Wars. Exactly. It lacks risk. That's the thing you can see. When somebody's doing something independently and it's their own vision and there's not a lot of voices in it, they can be very direct on what they want. But when you have a product that's being developed by there's filters and all this bullshit, you can see it with DC. DC just can't get it together because there's no leadership. There's no overseer of the product. So, you know, now that Triple H, with all of Triple H's experience, Chris has highlighted to me the 14-time champ. He's been in the business for fucking 30 plus years. He's leading the charge now. So we'll see if his insights and his knowledge and his experience help bring the WWE back to, I don't know, I wouldn't say back to glory. I don't know if it's not glorious because these guys are making tremendous money. They're bringing in a lot of stars, but something that the fans can really get behind and really feel proud of and excited about. You know, like Joe brings this up. Who's the biggest merchandise seller in the WWE right now? Somebody who wrestled 20 years ago. You know, who do we talk about on the regular? It's still Stone Cold. You know, and I guess for the kids it's different. You know, I saw a lot of kids get very excited for the John Cena music when it came. So they're still living off some of the older nostalgia because they have a lot of fans that are my age and older. But you can see there's a new generation of kids coming up, and I'm sure as those kids get older, they would want to see something funny and edgy. They wouldn't be, they would be just like we were as kids, like ready to laugh and maybe be a little bit more anti-establishment. If anti-establishment is very popular nowadays, I think it's something that could resurge. I'm excited to watch Cody Rhodes really ascend. That's something that I feel like I was able to observe from the beginning because we were watching WrestleMania this year, and we got to see that first match of his in the WWE. So it was very athletic. He looks tremendous. He's got presence. He's, Jesus, he wrestled with the torn pec, and he looks like he's ready to put it on the line to become the champ. So I'm very interested to watch his ascension to what I think will be the WWE champ within the next year or two. Let me check out a couple of comments here. Phil says, no chairs, not my chair, not my problem. Yeah, no chairs, an iconic thing of the WWE, but I think with CTE and concussions and all these other things, they were just trying to limit exposure to those things and take it. I don't care if that thing's made of aluminum foil. If that hits you square in the head or in the temple, wherever, it's gonna hurt. So, Tricky Ricky says, need more wrestling, less bullshit, and have the champ on the show every week might help. I see what you're saying there. They got this division where it's SmackDown, Raw, and then there's NXT. The champ doesn't appear. Like, we were at Raw and we didn't see Brock Lesnar. So I was like, man, it would have been cool. I remember in the lead up to a big show, SummerSlam or WrestleMania, like that whole week, that's what you were building. Like, you would see The Rock and Austin cut promos and talk a hell of a lot of shit. There was none of that. That was actually missing from that Raw episode that I was at, and I was surprised because I felt like, SummerSlam is on Saturday. I thought this would be this huge build-up, and they'd be trying to push SummerSlam 2022, and it really wasn't that way. So there's probably room for some leadership assertion, and there's room for change and innovation. So we'll see if they could do it. We're here. I mean, I've probably never been so engaged except for when I was a kid. So I'm interested to see where it goes. Maybe I'll start checking out these episodes on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown. If the product gets more engaging, I'll probably wait till Cody Rhodes comes back, which could be a while. It looks like about 6 months. I'm curious to see who they're going to build as his opponent. How will they, I know the fans love Cody Rhodes. I think he's well loved. And how do you make that work? How do you make his ascension not something that feels forced or like a foregone conclusion? How do you give him a journey and a story that is compelling? That would be interesting to see. He needs an opposite. He needs somebody. You could see it with The Rock and Stone Cold. They made each other better. You can see it with Kurt and Brock. They made each other better. That's what rivalries and competition is about. That's how you get the best product, when there's real, actual rivalry, and there's real competition. So we will come back next week. We will come back live with our reaction to the WWE versus WCW Monday Night Wars Rivals episode on A&E. I really appreciate everybody for stopping in, hanging out. I'll catch you guys next time. Tune in on Friday for another episode of the Break Room Podcast.